So, y'all, I'm sitting out in South Holland, Illinois right now. I just left Chicago, Illinois. My question for people who live up around Chicago in this area, where y'all going? I've been trying to figure it out. Like, if most shit is closed, I've been driving. I got up at 6 o'clock this morning. Where is everybody going in Illinois and Chicago area? Y'all, please help me figure this shit out. Somebody that's from there. Where y'all going? I can't quite figure this shit out, all right? But I'm sitting here, and I figured I would come in here and deal with, as you see on your screen, this post, this meme, rather, and this logic. I've had people emailing me, people, trying to act like because I posted this on my Instagram and Facebook, and I gave my opinion about this logic, that I'm trying to somehow fuel a beef with one young Pharoah. Now, y'all know, if you follow my shit, if you watch my shit, I'm not into all the beef. I don't get into all that. Alright? These are things that I've been talking about for years, and it just so happens that this ideologist mentality is being pushed, and so whoever pushing it, I have an opinion about the ideology. I haven't disrespected this brother or anything like that, but the ideology is trash. I'll explain why it's trash. I listened to, a lot of people be sending me Young Pharaoh's videos. And I sit and I listen to as much as I could take of a 6 hour, he did like a 6 hour, 5 hour, some long stream of a PowerPoint presentation where he was going down and running down this logic he had about the deep state and what it is to be subjected to the deep state, what the deep state is doing, the elitists, there would be some people call them the powers that be, the motherfuckers that run the motherfucking world, right? And he ran down his logic about such. And I've sit and I listened to this, and I've listened to some of his other videos that people have sent me earlier this year as well. And I think the brother's an intelligent brother, fiery brother. You can tell he got some passion about what he's talking about. But I got an issue with this, and I had an issue listening to the 6 hour stream. I made it to about 2 hours of it, where I'm listening to him basically tell black people that, we need to stop being so aggressive towards white people, all up at the job, blaming them for slavery, when it was initially the Arab that introduced the white man and his mama, the caves, to slavery and that version of slavery. I don't have an issue with that part. We should be evenly have an issue. Same way we have an issue with Christianity, we should have a problem with Islam. Same way we have a problem with the white man and his mama, we should also have a problem with the Arab and his motherfucking mama. Because they still over there enslaving black people right now. Okay? So I don't have an issue with that. What I do have an issue with is somehow acting like or defending white people, the caves, anybody defending the caves from some treatment that they're receiving at work that they're not receiving. Black people do not blatantly disrespect, do not bother white folk in any type of way. So to come in and have a logic where, well, we need to stop acting like the average white person is our enemy. Black folk don't sit up there and harass white folk all up at the job. He was using, Brad and Susan and all this. Leave them alone. Leave them alone. Nobody's bothering them. I have an issue with that. And I'm listening to him, go through this and, explain how he's not racist and all this shit. I really have a problem with black people when we're talking about racism, when we have to defend the fact that we're not racist, white people. To be clear, it's not me that's racist. He even said this about Hispanics as well, which ain't nothing but white folk. most of them classify themselves white folk. Well, I'm not racist towards you. I'm not going to spend time doing all of that. And I don't think any black person should, especially a black person who is supposed to be exuding black pride, black power, and black knowledge. We don't have time to be apologizing or explaining to white folk how not racist we are. I had an issue with that. A big issue. Because now we're victimizing white folk like we out here making them suffer. Up at jobs and shit. We're not. And to exonerate them, to me, is problematic. Now, how he explained it was that, a lot of these white folk, they didn't have slaves. And you even have, some black people who will come out here and talk about the white people who assisted during the Underground Railroad, assisted in some of the passageways in which our people, were fleeing to trying to get to freedom. These are issues, or these are points that black people will make in defense of white people when they're trying to say, well, not all white people are bad. And what he was saying was that, not all white people are the deep state. Now, I've told y'all this before he's even said anything about this. Y'all know I tell y'all that poor white people are the dumbest motherfuckers out here, because they will stay in a state, a condition where they may be suffering. Poor whites, working class whites, may be suffering, but they are so comfortable because they're not at the bottom that they refuse to fight against racism and against this deep state. They refuse. Because to them, if they can look at you and say, well, hell, at least I'm not a nigger, then they okay. That's the problem. That's the issue. That's what I'm going to charge the motherfucking caves with. I mean, that's what I charge them with, period. As we've talked about on this channel several times. Because I don't know, again, people were taking it as I was taking a shot at him. This is what I've been talking about. There are not any white organizations fighting against racism. It's just not happening. That's not my goddamn fault that's the state. That's, not me sitting around at some job, me mugging Brad and Susan, or, who the fuck ever. That has nothing to do with that. That's reality. These motherfuckers will not stand and fight against racism. Period. The elitists treat us all as wage slaves. That's facts. I wouldn't argue against that. That's how this conversation is getting, it's getting muddy. The water's being muddy. There's a very clear thing going on here. The would-be deep state don't give a fuck about no working class people. None. But the caves still get treated better overall and historically than black people. Black people are railroaded by a privatized prison complex. The deep state funds those prisons, makes money, billions from those prisons. White folk ain't mad about that. The caves ain't out here, storming any businesses, or not businesses, but storming Washington, D.C. or any government entities. They're not storming about that. They're not mad about that. It's not them. They're not worried about it. I just made a video talking about how these motherfuckers are taking it to their Capitol buildings and complaining about the fact that they feel that they have been stifled, their natural movement have been stifled. So they'll take up arms against the government, telling them, look, you're not going to keep me in the motherfucking house. But a black man, woman, or child can be shot down and them motherfuckers don't say a damn word, but they should have complied. That's the reality of this thing. The reason that this type of union is so ridiculous, and it makes no sense. What are we going to try to beg and convince, the caves to let's join with me so we can fight up against the deep state? That's our job to do. When these motherfuckers have sit by and watched us suffer and not gave a fuck the entire time. And I'm sitting here listening to this man who I think he's an intelligent brother, but I don't know what the fuck he's talking about right now. I don't know what he's seeing. Even as he explains it and goes down and give all the slides, I don't know what he's seeing. Where are black people harassing white people at? Black people spend majority of their time kissing white ass. Y'all know that's what we talk about over here. I'm trying to convince black people that they don't have to live like that. You don't have to kiss white ass. I don't tell you how to go spit on white folk, mean mug white folk, but you don't got to kiss their motherfucking ass. And if you're talking about the truth and the reality of racism, you don't have to bite your motherfucking tongue. You don't have to whisper, and you don't have to mince words. Motherfucker, your people have never came out here and formed an organization of any kind to fight against racism. And that's because you don't give a fuck about it. And that's also because you don't give a fuck about our people, our plight, or our struggle. You tell us we need to work harder. That's the climate that exists out here. That's reality. That's not my motherfucking fault. And as I'm listening to him get through this, and I'm disagreeing, but I'm still listening. I disagree with what he said. I agree with the history that he's given. I agree with that, but I disagree with what he's drawing from the history and how we should just let white people, it ain't their fault. Brad ain't do nothing. Molly, Susan, she didn't do anything. The cave hole didn't do anything, but they care and give a fuck more about a goddamn canine, about a pet, than they do our people. We didn't make them do that. That's not our responsibility. They have no reason to have ever been racist against black people. None. So why am I trying to convince them to be on my side? Why is that my motherfucking job? Why are black people going to take that work on themselves? Hell no. Fuck that. And any black person who has this mentality, as I've been talking about since before he even said anything, so this isn't about me trying to create a beef with him. It's been my logic. These been my talking points. I'm not uniting with no damn caves. This meme is ridiculous because the cave is not trying to unite with you. They're trying to use you to boost numbers in their struggle, and then they'll leave your motherfucking ass by the wayside. We understand this is exactly what happened with the feminist movement, is it not? The gay rights movement, is it not? The feminist movement used black women to boost their motherfucking numbers, but do they come out here and protest anything that's happening to black women specifically? No, they don't. They will not. Idiotic for any black woman who claims she's a goddamn feminist. You're blind, you sleep. You're confused as to how this works. The gay rights movement. Yeah, black people call themselves being about gay rights. But are the white members of that gay rights organization going to come out here and fight for something that's happening specifically to you because you are black and homosexual? You black first. You have to not identify with your blackness for white people to even invite you into their organizations or even decide they want to fight with you. You have to identify with some other thing first. Identify with being a woman first. Identify with being homosexual first. That's what they require. They require you to erase yourself to even be down. And if you do decide not to erase yourself, they don't fuck with you. They don't speak on your plight. That ain't my fault. That's not black people's fault. That's the reality. Now, we too stupid to realize it. That's our fault. But we're talking about simple realities here. That's why this ideology is flawed. That's why we can't be on no I got your back brother shit with the caves, because they never have our back. They do not fight for us in large numbers. They make up the majority of the people in this country. If they had an issue with institutional racism, redlining, you being pushed out of certain industries, you not being able to get business loans from banks, that shit wouldn't happen. The privatized prison complex targeting your people, it wouldn't happen if they had a problem with it. They make up the majority of people in this nation. If they ever had an issue with how you being treated, it would stop. Now, of course, you couldn't change the hearts and minds of all individuals who decide they want to be racist, decide they're going to, think to call you a nigger or something like that. Of course, you can't change that. But these institutions, which are ran by the caves, they would have been changed if the caves had a problem with it. They make up most people in this nation. These are just facts. Then he goes on in this stream that he did. And once he started caping for Donald Trump, I couldn't deal with it no more. I had to turn it off after about an hour and a half. I think it was maybe an hour and a half or two. I listened to him cape for Donald Trump. And a lot of y'all are doing this right now. Y'all are saying things like, well, he's never implemented any racist policies against black people. He's never done that. And thus, that means he's on our side. Because at least he never did nothing to make it worse for you. How low does your self-esteem have to be for that to be your logic? You can be ignored. Your plight cannot really be dealt with. Racism, white supremacy cannot come out of anybody's mouth, because it doesn't come out of Donald Trump's mouth at all. He doesn't speak against that mentality or that ideology or the fact that this entire nation is built that way. He doesn't speak against that shit at all. How low your self-esteem got to be to say, well, hey, at least he ain't did nothing against us, so he must be on our side. What? There is no such thing as an employee of America 3Ks Incorporated being on your side. If they don't come talk about your plight very specifically, they're not on your side. Something is wrong with us because we feel as though that everybody is on our side. Isn't that ridiculous? Isn't that a completely ridiculous ideology? How low is your self-esteem? Donald Trump, who just gave billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars to corporations. The corporations themselves are part of the racist infrastructure. If you're funding the racist infrastructure, that means you are racist. In the law or in the legal system, they call this being an accessory. Even if you don't think Donald Trump is an outright racist, that motherfucker is an accessory to racism. We're not even going to deal with the practices of him and his racist ass father, as they were, had tenants up in New York in some of their buildings where they were the tenants of, black and brown, as we talk about the would-be people of color, which I hate using that, but he was also racist against the so-called brown people as well. That's just facts. That was his daddy. Has he came out and spoke against anybody having that mentality? Housing discrimination, gentrification. Does he come out and speak against this shit? No. So that makes him a motherfucking accessory. The same thing I charged y'all's boy Obama with. I know y'all thought, because he was black, doesn't matter the color, motherfucker, you an accessory. A lot of these coon motherfuckers out here are accessories to racism. And see, once he started talking about how non-racist Donald Trump is, and how Donald Trump is trying to How he calls it, drain the swamp. Donald Trump ain't trying to drain no goddamn swamp. Donald Trump is an employee of America. 3Ks don't get this shit fucked up incorporated, and thus the swamp will never be drained. The people are the only ones who can drain a swamp, not a political employee. Not gonna happen. Because they can be touched. You don't believe me? Ask JFK. Oh, can't hack some shit, can you? You don't drain no swamp from that's not what he's doing. At all. His mission is to make corporations richer. The same thing that any employee of America, 3Ks, don't get this shit fucked up incorporated. That's what they're going to be about. The reason Obama bailed out the banks, one of the first things he did as acting president, damn near $1 trillion to the big banks, is because that's the function of this nation. That's what the core of this nation is. Now, of course, we don't really care about shit like this. I've been trying to talk to y'all about this shit for years. We don't care. Now, the only way this nation experiences a outright full-blown revolution is for the caves and black people to work together. That's the only way. I mean, realistically speaking, and of course, this isn't something I haven't said before. So it's not that young Pharaoh is completely off base. It's not that that part isn't completely off base. It's the methodology and the issue as to why it won't work that's not being discussed. White folk too racist. They too racist. And their racism doesn't even have legs. It never even had legs. They have no reason to hate black people. None. Other than the power aspect of it. To have the desire to continuously oppress a group to keep them from being on equal footing. That's all racism is built on. They can claim they hate you because of crime. They can claim that. That just means they hate you because you're poor. Right? And we know they're poor. There are other groups of poor people all across the nation. Poverty is what leads to the crime. You see. That's understood for every other group but ours. They make it seem like there's some inherent born criminal aspect in black people's genetics, and they always have. This has been their ideology. Because their racism can't be built on anything real, because then it wouldn't exist. So they've created things, reasons to hate you, reasons to not give a fuck about what you're going through. But if a dog get shot or killed, these motherfuckers that have a goddamn candlelight vigil. PETA will come out. Because they have organizations to protect animals. You see. To stand for the rights of animals. You see. Some of us just watched this, it was, God, what was it? The Tiger King. Where you have organizations that even go up in zoos and be like, y'all ain't even taking care of these people in the zoos right. Look at the conditions of a lot of the prisons out here. You have people out here that are protesting and standing up against the conditions of the prisons out here. Mainly black folks speaking about this. White people aren't going to form no organization for that. Will they get on board with that? Because most of the people in prison is black folk. But if a zoo ain't right, Oh, they on their way. It's not our fault or responsibility to try to change their minds about that. To try to guilt black people into saying, well, it's just because y'all don't want to work with white folk. That's why they act like that. No, black people have always tried to work with white folk and have always been burned because of it. The reality of these organizations not giving a fuck about black people, that's just how it is. Whether you want to sign up to be a so-called feminist, doesn't matter. These white bitches ain't show up for Sandra Bland, did they? Did they? Do they come out here and talk about the, thousands of black girls and women that go missing every year? No. If a gay black man or black woman gets gunned down by the police, by the cops, also 3Ks. Don't get it fucked up. These organizations ain't coming out there to... Well, you targeted them because they were black. Where are those organizations at then? That's not our fault that it's like that. And I'm not going to listen to anybody make it black people's responsibility to do this, to be on some, No. To me, just like Malcolm X said, black people got to unify with ourselves first. I'm not against, specifically against the average, regular grocery bag and cave. No. I don't necessarily have a issue. I'm not going to call and request that, hey, no, you need to have a black bagger come over here. That's how white folk act. No, I don't want this black waitress. Get her the fuck up out of here. We've seen these things happen, right? Because they got a problem. What I will say is that grocery bagging cave, that burger flipping cave, floor sweeping, bathroom cleaning, mechanic, doctor, nurse, whoever the fuck they are, they're not coming out here to fight and stand against racism. They never have. Nor will I beg them to. But I'm going to charge them with that. I'm going to convict them with that. The truck driver that's out here, y'all know this is the profession I'm in right now. We out here. These motherfuckers don't give a fuck about what black folk going through. That's why this ideology won't work. It can't work. Because white people, the caves, are too motherfucking racist. Whether it's a form of racism that is an active form of racism or an inactive form of racism. There is no huge push to fight and stand against racism. And that's not our fault. And I'm not going to be on board with anybody. A young Pharaoh, the people who follow him, y'all can send me these messages all day, act like I'm trying to cause some type of beef with it. I'm not trying to cause no beef with that brother. But this ideology won't work, and it ain't been working. Black people have been willing to work with white folk. But what we find out is when shit get hot, them motherfuckers might disappear. Matter of fact, they did disappear. That's why there's no organizations fighting against racism. Show me one. I've challenged y'all to do this now for a long time. Show me the organization. Show me where the Confederate flag and American flag wearing motherfucker is standing up against racism. Institutional or otherwise. Show me where it's happening. Those white folk, I will work with them. It's just that it's not happening. That ain't my goddamn fault. That's what I require because I have pride. You understand? If I was a black woman, because I had pride, I couldn't be no damn feminist. Because I see them motherfuckers not show up for black women. I couldn't be a feminist. I couldn't be down with these groups because they're not standing up for our people, y'all. Donald Trump ain't standing up for our people. No politician comes out here and deals with institutional racism, white supremacy. They just don't. Donald Trump don't. He funds the motherfuckers that are out here being oppressive. How can you be against the deep state when you fund the oligarchy? When you give the corporations the bread? In their stimulus package, y'all know over $550 billion went to corporations. That's in grant form, not in loan form like they did for small businesses. Just gave them the money to keep the oligarchy running, to keep the deep state running. You don't get to fund it and be against it at the same time. So at that point, once he got on that Donald Trump shit, after I heard him justify the fact that he supports Donald Trump because Donald Trump ain't really did anything overtly against black people, although he's done nothing for black people specifically. Doesn't come out here and speak against white supremacy or anything like that. None of the issues that we have going on out here, he doesn't speak against them, so fuck Donald Trump. And not just fuck him, fuck all these motherfucking caves out here. Fuck them all. They don't show up. And that's what I'm charging them with. No disrespect to young Pharoah, but the ideology is trash. Any black person who has this ideology, you're not thinking clearly. You're not thinking clearly at all. Because white folk done showed you what they care about, what they ride for, what they come together about, what they'll band up against. And it ain't never been you. So, that's all the fuck I wanted to say. You know, if you made it to this point in this video, I appreciate you. Appreciate you hearing me out. If anybody takes offense to this, it just is what it is. Black people, you know, young Pharoah saying this isn't anything. Like, black people act like this anyway. We waiting for white folk to come want to work with us. Come help save us. But we must unify ourselves first. Get our minds on different things first to even understand what's going on out here. And come together with each other. That should be our concern. Fighting a deep state with people who ain't never worked with us. They never gave a fuck about how we're doing. Never gave a fuck about our plight. Never give a fuck about our kids. The school system. They don't give a fuck about any of that. They think you deserve it because you lazy. And you're a criminal. That's what makes the poor working class cave the dumbest motherfucker. Because they continue to stay in that state. That if it ain't them, they're not going to worry about it. Y'all want to be validated by white people so bad. Even when they ain't working for you, you'll act like they are. When they ain't looking out for you, you'll act like they are. You'll create a scenario where, well, you know, they didn't say nothing about us specifically, but yeah, I can tell they working for us. They looking out for us. This entire system is built on racism. Ran by corporations, which gives you the oligarchy that we have here, not a democracy. Gives you the plutocracy that we have here, not a democracy. The rule of democracy says majority rules. Now we know that's not real, but the ideology that majority does rule means that everything that black people are going through is because the majority are okay with it. And guess who is the majority in this nation? Y'all like, share, subscribe. Hit the bell to get the notifications. Links to follow me on social media in the description box. Black first, second, and third. Shout out Team Rob. Y'all already know what the fuck it is. I'm out.